Ladies and gentlemen, we have a blast to the past, okay? We have this video that showed up on my timeline. I watched literally like 2 seconds of it and I said, nah, I gotta show this to my people, all right? Today we have Benny Johnson, we have Destiny, we have, of course, Piers, Morgan, and they talk about a lot of really good topics. And looking back in hindsight, holy smokes, some of them were spot on, but some of them I'm like, dude, what are you talking about, right? So without further ado, we're getting right into it. Let's rock!
Oh my God!
So does it matter whether Trump's a nice guy or not? I think people have baked in now what he is. He's a shoot from the hip, guy that loves to talk. He's pretty narcissistic, okay. He's pretty bombastic. He's pretty pugilistic. If you read his book, The Art of the Deal, he says if somebody punches me, metaphorically or real, I'll punch them 10 times back. There's nothing new about any of Trump's behavior if you have studied his behavior for the last 40, 50 years. He just happens to be a guy who won the White House and right now is actually looking like he's favourite to win it back. So for all the rhetorical issues around Trump, and the supposed meanness, there are tens of millions of Americans who are queuing up to vote for him.
Yeah, so let's talk about tens of millions. I particularly take quite a bit of umbrage with the description of Donald Trump as demonic. I think that is quite shocking as a Christian myself to call somebody demonic like Donald Trump, who's actually against the 10 million people who have been human smuggled into this country, many of them children. I remember a time not too long ago when people the left cared about children in cages. Yet now they're calling Donald Trump demonic. He wants to stop these human smuggling by the cartels. Have you ever been down to the border, Destiny? Have you seen the rape trees? Have you seen the little children's toys that are left down there from the human smuggling that is created by Joe Biden, the biggest human smuggler in human history? Do you know the carnage and the horror that is being created by those policies? Let's not even talk about what Joe Biden has done to the world stage. Donald Trump brought world peace. You're going to talk about Kurds and wars? How about Ukraine? Joe Biden could have stopped that war before it even started. Joe Biden continues that war and continues the funding of that war that is leading to the wholesale slaughter of an entire region. Joe Biden could stop it right now. Joe Biden has brought war around the world. And then let's talk about the fentanyl poisoning America. You want to talk about cruelty? It took Joe Biden 400 days to go to East Palestine in Ohio, a city that was poisoned by our federal government in a chemical explosion, much less the chemical explosion that is happening all throughout America with fentanyl slaughtering 100,000 Americans. And the final thing I'll say here, how dare you call Donald Trump demonic when Joe Biden hasn't even said Laken Riley's name correctly, called her Lincoln Riley when he was forced to. This woman was slaughtered by a criminal alien who was in this country illegally, who was released by Democrats and went on to slaughter a nursing student in Georgia with his bare hands. And Joe Biden apologized to the murderer. How dare you say, that Donald Trump's demonic? Can you defend any of that behavior? Final thing I'll say here is Joe Biden wouldn't acknowledge his own grandchild. Even the New York Times said that is a sick, evil behavior. So if you're looking for demonic behavior, my friend, I got it for you. It's sitting in the White House in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in a diaper right now during nap time.
Wow. Okay, that's what I call a rebuttal. Let's come to Dave Smith. Before we do, let's play that clip that Benny referenced. This is
Before we play a clip, let's just let all of that just marinate, right? He said a lot. But one thing I will talk about is the fentanyl thing is really, really bad. I actually was just talking to a friend. I don't even want to put out his business out there, but let's just say it's bad. It's bad. Somebody had, unfortunately, let's just say they're not here with us because fentanyl use, and it's just so sad. It's just plaguing so many people, right? And, if you buy a certain drug and you don't know that it's in it, and you take just a little tiny bit, that could be it. You don't need a lot, which is the craziest part about it, right? Just a little bit. So I will agree with that. That is wild. And then, of course, the violence and all the other stuff. But back to the video. Let's let him rock.
when Joe Biden, in the State of the Union address, did not pronounce Laken Riley's name properly.
It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right.
Now, Dave, the issue for Biden.
If I may.
Sorry, Benny?
If I may, just since I brought up the clip, if you don't mind, Piers.
Sure.
Could I ask Destiny right now, would you like to apologize to Laken Riley's family for her murder, since it's open border Democrat policies that you promote on your program? Would you like to apologize to the parents of Laken Riley for the murder of her child?
The virtue signaling is off the charts. I didn't kill anybody, so I'm not going to apologize to anybody for somebody getting killed.
But there are
unfortunately, there are a lot of people that
you
get killed in the United States for a large variety of reasons. If anybody gets killed, especially based on the background of this guy, this guy definitely should have been deported. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But hey, listen, if you want the border stuff to be cleared up so much, why don't you tell Republicans to stop turning into a game in the White House or in Congress and actually approve legislation to get more funding down for the border?
Okay.
Right now, it's Republicans who pulled the plug on that because Trump wants to maintain the one little bit of electoral advantage you might have, which is you guys trying to stir stuff up over the border. And it's funny also how you frame this all like, oh, they're trying to stop human smuggling. No, they're not. They're just trying to secure the border. Humans are going to be smuggled all over the place, regardless of whether it's into America or not. It's not like Trump actually cares about
Destiny, the truth, Destiny, what I would say about that is, whether you're on the left or right in America, nobody can dispute that the southern border is in complete and utter turmoil. And I'm afraid if you're the president of the United States and you've been there for 3 years, it's on you. Right? He's done nothing to stop it. In fact, he's made it a lot worse. Dave Smith.
Bingo. Stop right there. That is a fact. Ultimately, it is on you. If, something hasn't been changed and it's been years, and that's on whoever is in office. That's on that particular administration. Watch how, now, remember, this clip is old. So watch how fast things get cleaned up soon as Trump gets into office, right? So it's just about, taking accountability, which obviously Biden is not going to do. His administration is not going to do. Let's just be honest. That ain't happening. Okay. Not in this lifetime. Just going to be honest. And we know that, right? But it's all good because this is an older clip. And obviously, they didn't know because this is an older clip and Trump already won. But that's not to say that it just stops there, right? We want to definitely see, hopefully, these changes come into play. And I'm positive they will. I mean, he says that the first day he's getting right to work, which I love to hear. Back to the video.
If you've been very patiently waiting, get stuck in.
This is the most patient I've ever been in my life.
I know. I appreciate it.
You've been quiet.
Get stuck in now.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think probably Destiny, even you could admit that it just shows such a tremendous disconnect and a contempt for the voters and this weird woke progressive value that after getting her name wrong, he apologizes in his next interview for calling the guy an illegal and says he should have said undocumented, but doesn't say, hey, so, can you at least grant that apologizing for calling an insensitive name to the murderer and not apologizing for getting the actual name of the murder victim correct it's like, are you trying to throw the election? It's almost as if these woke progressive values have taken people to a point where they can't even do what's in their own political interest, because you would just think that the vast majority of voters would be like, well, clearly you owe an apology to one of these people, and it's not the murderer.
Dave, what do you think is going to happen in November?
Well, I mean, this is a really tough election to predict. I mean, I'll tell you, I think that the three-letter organizations that really run the United States of America and have much more power than the elected representatives, I think they have pretty clearly signaled that Donald Trump returning to the White House is unacceptable to them, and they are going to use whatever means necessary to not let that happen. And in that case, if you're betting against the CIA, you may not win. If there is a democratic process and Trump is not removed, as of right now, I think there's absolutely no question that Donald Trump gets elected. Look, if you look at any of the polling, the major two issues are the economy and immigration.
Bingo.
And Trump is where the American people are.
That's a fact. That's a fact, right? That's a fact. American people are hurting. And even though this video is older, they still are. None of this has changed. Literally none of it. At all, right? In my opinion, I'm sure that things will get better during this next term, and I am very, very, very optimistic that things will definitely 100% turn around. It's not that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, right? That's not to say that there won't be some bumps, right, along the way, some turbulence along the way, but I definitely think things will get better. But back to
much more than Joe Biden is. He can try to spin it now and say, oh, well, we're trying to do border security, but the Republicans aren't playing ball. But you just can't ignore the last, since 2016, Trump was demonized viciously by every single progressive for talking about building a wall, talking about having border security. To try to turn it around now and be like, no, I'm really the border hawk and the open border is Donald Trump's fault is just not going to sell. Their message on the economy is essentially, the economy is really good. You're just too stupid to realize how good it is. And also, I think Donald Trump, at least rhetorically, with foreign policy, is much closer to where the American people are right now, which is after 20 plus years of terror wars, every last one of them an absolute disaster. The funding the war in Ukraine, everything they said was going to happen has not happened. And I think that the kind of non-interventionist America first, again, at least rhetorically, there's a lot of things Trump did on foreign policy that I don't support, but I think he's certainly much closer to where the American people are than Joe Biden on all of the biggest issues.
Destiny.
And that's the and by the way, I would just add that is what is appealing to Trump supporters. And I'm not a Trump supporter, but that's what's appealing to Donald Trump supporters, not the fact that he sends mean tweets. And you can talk to any Trump supporter.
What's really fascinating to me are two recent polls, Destiny, which I think should send a shiver down the spine of all Democrats, which is a poll from March the 3rd. Donald Trump's support among black voters has grown by 500% in the last 4 years, according to the New York Times. His support among black voters is now 23%, marking a 19% increase since October 2020. And a poll from the Arab American Institute from the end of 2023 showed support among Arab American voters for Biden has plummeted by nearly 60% in 2020 to 17% today. I mean, those two things are quite extraordinary when his main opponent is somebody that the Democrats love to demonize, quite literally. You use that word yourself, but they demonize him constantly as the worst racist in America. Why is it that those two things are happening?
Well, for people voting from the Middle East or of Arab descent or whatever, right now they're probably going to be heavily influenced by stuff going on in Israel-Palestine, obviously. But I think that Americans' memory when it comes to foreign policy tends to be pretty short. So we'll have to see where Israel-Palestine is at in 6 months to see how much that's on the forefront of people's minds. But again, for any person that's not supporting Biden because they think he's being too harsh on Gaza, it's not like Trump would be any better. Again, Trump is a staunchly pro-Israel supporter. Trump was the one who recognized the moving of that embassy. The idea that Donald Trump is going to try to rein in the leash on Israel more than Biden has is ridiculous. As for minority votes for Trump, again, it's hard to say. Everything is so up in the air. There were just some polls that came out recently that showed that there was almost like a 10-point swing in how people are viewing Biden's senility just after the State of the Union, where Democrats and independent voters now have a much more favorable view of Biden after the State of the Union in regards to his senility. And I also saw that the AP posted something today showing that a majority of American voters think that both Biden and Trump are too old and senile to be in office. So I think that we're going to have to wait a few months until we get closer to the election to see what people actually care about, because every time an issue comes up, people think this is going to be the election deciding issue. But then, in a couple of weeks, something else comes up. In a month or two, something completely different is being talked about, and we'll see what happens when the actual election rolls around. I would like to remind people, though, for as much as people say, this is why Trump is popular, this is why most Americans support Trump, Trump has never won a popular election in the entire history of the United States. Conservatives enjoy a great deal of structural advantage, whether it's the composition of the Senate and each state getting 2 votes, whether it's the composition of the House and a disproportionate amount of voters in conservative states being represented, or whether it's the Electoral College, where somebody like Donald Trump can lose to Hillary Clinton by millions of votes and still somehow come away with the presidency. So don't fall for this illusion that Trump has ever been the most popular candidate in the United States. That's not.
Well, first of all, bro, he won the popular vote. So here goes that theory. That's out the door, right? He won the popular vote. And yes, before, has he won the popular vote? No. But again, this time around, it just goes to show, because I don't know if you guys remember, before on the last election, he literally said, I'm telling you, it's gonna be bad if you let Biden win. And he forecasted, I wouldn't say he forecasted everything happening, but a lot of the stuff that happened, he definitely forecasted happening. And it happened, right? And I think people came to the realization that, holy smokes, this guy was also right, and let's get back on track. I don't think it's that deep what this guy's talking about. Like all this, I mean, he's just rambling. He's going on and on about this stuff. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying there's some points in there that aren't true, but for the most part, No, bro, that's not the case. It went to show this last election, which he actually did get the popular vote. I know this video's older, but still, when this came out, the election stuff was amping up. So yeah, no, you're wrong. Back to the video.
True. Even in the elections he's won, he's only won it because of the structural advantages of
Okay,
conservatives
but he
enjoy
was the-
and the U.S.
all right,
electoral
he was-
system.
We're a constitutional dude. Have you read the founding documents? We're a constitutional republic. We're not a direct democracy. That's not how this country was founded. If you want that, move to a different country. That's not
No,
the
nothing.
presidency was never supposed to be
part of what I just said was
never
complaining about the structure of our democracy. I was just explaining
But
that
this
using an
idea, this
electoral system to point to the popularity of the president isn't exactly accurate. Are you following the conversation?
the popular vote argument was never part of the founding of this nation and was never designed to be the way that we elect our leaders. So, I mean, again, that's
I
just
agree.
fantasy.
That's
Yeah, and that
cool.
also
I'm glad.
wasn't
Thank
our
you. Do you want
point.
to say
I
any
wasn't
other
saying
obvious
that
facts
there's-
about how the United States works?
Yes.
So I
but
mean,
you're
I guess
saying it in
what I'm
response to
saying
us
is
talking
your
about
argument
why
is
people support
specious.
him.
Your argument is totally irrelevant because you're saying Donald Trump never won the popular vote, but who the hell cares?
Yeah, look, I think the
Well, if
bottom,
you're
the
saying
bottom
that Donald
line
Trump is
is
the most popular
the
candidate in the
let me
United
just jump in a
States,
minute.
let
Let me just
Well, he did win the popular vote. We're gonna end it here. He definitely did win the popular vote. I don't know how this guy feels now. You know, if he were to get back on Piers, I really would be curious. I would really be curious to hear what he has to say after the election. Okay, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I genuinely do not agree with most of what this guy is saying. I think his name is Destiny, right? So the other two gentlemen here, I 100% agree with them. And that's pretty much it. So guys, leave in the comment section what you think. Who do you think kind of forecasted what would happen the best out of everybody on this panel, right? And yeah, guys, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Make sure you slap the like button and headbutt the subscribe button twice for me. Thank you for good luck. Until next time, peace.